Hello, my name is William Shockschneider, and today we're going to be discussing a little bit of cybersecurity and how you can protect yourself a little bit better than maybe what you possibly do right now. First off, why is security important? One of the main reasons security is important, which I always find, is financial reasons. We all know someone who's lost a little bit of money, or maybe even a lot of money, due to financial reasons, and that's something that not anybody wants to deal with. It's quite painful for anyone to deal with, and it could lead to a lot of problems. And security gives us kind of a ease of mind. We can not have to worry as much about our personal information being attacked by anyone, whether it's, a coworker who's logging into your computer, or maybe even someone who's trying to steal your identity. Having good security does prevent it and does give slight ease of mind. And I did want to talk about a little bit about national security. I mean, it's a little bit beyond the scope of this, but it is something why security is important, because there are countries who do use cybercrimes to target individuals, and they also have used it to target governmental agencies. So it's just one thing to kind of keep in mind, even though it's a little bit beyond the scope of this. First off, I want to talk about how to secure your web browser. Most normal people will use a web browser to check social media, emails, play games, whatever you're using it for. But securing your browser is a good way to improve your personal security to start with. And the first way to do it is never save your passwords in your browser. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Chrome than Internet Explorer or Edge or Firefox, because it seems to be the most popular. But never save passwords in your browser. This just gives anybody who can get into your computer the easiest way to steal your information. I know it's very convenient. I've done it before myself. I didn't realize how bad it could be. I never really thought about that, but just never save your passwords. I'm going to keep reiterating that because it's the dumbest thing that anyone could do. They can steal your credit card information just because you saved it in your Amazon account and you saved your login. They could access your social media just because you saved your login. Secondly, I want to talk about clearing the cache, the cache is a temporary place that stores all the temp data that comes with using the internet, such as pages, images, files. Clearing that can kind of help secure it, because there are ways that they could put malware into the temporary files. The easiest way to do it is just go into Google Chrome, click the three-dot ellipsis underneath the X that closes the browser, and go to Chrome settings, scroll all the way down to advanced, and then once you get into advanced, there is an option that says clear cache. Do this periodically. It helps to protect you just a little bit more. It deletes all that temp data, and also will delete some personal information that you may or may not have known to save. Secondly, is just reset the browser. It's the same way you do it as to clear the cache. You just go to the ellipsis, to Chrome settings, advanced, and reset the browser. If you did save personal information such as passwords or credit card information, that will reset the browser to default and delete all of that. That just protects you a little bit more. And just again, never save your passwords. Talking about passwords, length of passwords and complexity of passwords are two of the main important points in talking about creating good passwords. I know a lot of people who use their child's birth date or their child's name and the year they were born. That's not a good password. That's information that can be easily accessed by really anyone with any kind of technological know-how. Most places recommend 8 to 12. I personally think that 12 is a good number for the number of characters in your password. I personally have passwords that are up to 25, depending on how secure I feel like I want the password to be. Complexity is also where it comes due, because you can make a word. My last name's 16 letters long, and I could just use my last name, and it's a long password. But that's something that they could easily find. They can easily try it and be like, oh, that worked. Complexity is where you talk about like using different characters, such as the pound sign or percent sign or dollar sign, and then using uppercase and lowercase letters, and also not using common dictionary words as passwords. Say you wanted to say my password was bird. That would take that'd get cracked instantly. But say you just used like bird16452. That would take 4 days for a person to attack. This is by going off of howsecureismypassword.net, where you can type in your password and it tells you how secure it is and how many days it would take to crack. Just by changing it up and using different uppercase, lowercase symbols, that helps it secure it because it takes longer for an attacker to actually do it. It takes more time for them. So use both. Use a longer password and also use more of a complex password as much as possible that you can remember. And also use different passwords for different accounts. Don't use the same password for your social media accounts that you use for your online banking or for your Amazon Prime if you're a Prime member. This just makes it easier for someone to get in if you have the same password for all your accounts. They find it once, they can use it for everything. They find it once and you have 12 different passwords, well, they can only use it once and hopefully it's your Facebook. Talking about most common type of attacks. Most common are passwords. Password attacks. People get access to your login information and they're able to log into whatever they have the password for. This just goes back to talking about choosing the best passwords and using different passwords for different accounts. More importantly is social engineering attacks, where someone tries to get you to perform the action, whether it be open an email, download a document from an email. These are the type of attacks where they want you to perform the action so they can get information from you without you even knowing and thinking that you've done it yourself. Best advice for this type of attack: do not open anything from an untrustworthy source. Say it's bob.shu@gmail.com. You don't know Bob Shu. Don't open any information from him. Say it's from your uncle, who you know his email, and he told you he was sending you an email with a document for whatever the reason. Okay, that's a little bit more trustworthy of a source. Don't open anything from an untrustworthy source. It's just going to cause problem. It's going to cause identity theft. This is where people steal your information. They can open up electric bills in your name. They can use your social security number to get loans or get credit card in your name, and it's causing a financial headache. It's very hard to get your identity back after that, and it's very challenging because then you have to freeze your credit. It takes a lot of time, and it's just very something that no one should ever have to deal with. So just please choose good passwords. Don't open anything from an untrustworthy source. And if you feel like you don't know if it's trustworthy or not, just delete it. If it's very important, they'll send it to you again, and they'll maybe contact you in a different way, whether it be by phone or by seeing you, whatever. And also just be careful with people you think are trustworthy, because you never know who could be an attacker. Now let's talk about choosing an antivirus. Picking the best antivirus is very dependent on what you need personally. Me personally, I have 3 devices I use. Kaspersky is my personal favorite. But say you're a family and you have 10 devices, you might need to upgrade the plan. There are free options. Most of the major retailers like Symantec, Kaspersky, Norton, McAfee, they all offer free version. Malwarebytes is a great one. But they don't provide the best security. They provide, I would say, adequate security. There's options from Kaspersky for as low as, I think, $50 for 5 devices for 1 year, up to I think it's $225 for 10 devices for 3 years. Pick what you can. I would always recommend to people to get the paid version, but if you can't, I understand, but at least download the free version so you have some protection. I'm now talking about protecting your computer while you're actually using it. Password protecting your screensaver is probably, and locking your computer is probably the fastest way to give you instant protection. You can do this by password protecting your screensaver by hitting the Windows key, change your screensaver, and right down here it says on resume display login screen. This forces you to log in anytime your computer's screensaver appears. It's the best option. This just goes along with locking your computer. Locking your computer puts it to the screensaver, and all you have to do to lock your computer is hit Windows and then the L key, and it locks your computer instantly. And also using the correct account, standard versus administrative. Now this just goes to the principle of least privilege, where you give people on your computer, say a family of 4, the least amount of access to the computer as possible. So say you have one person who needs to download software and install software for their job, and then the other people in the family, they don't have to. The person who needs to download the software needs to be the administrator, and everyone else just needs a standard account, because then the administrator can change the software settings, and The other 3 accounts cannot. This just gives a little bit more security for the one person who actually needs to do the work, while the other 3 just say they're browsing the web or playing a game. They don't need to change software for that. They don't need to do anything in the settings. All they need to do is click on Google Chrome or click Steam, and they can play the game, or surf the web. That one person needs to be able to install the software, so therefore they need to be the administrator. Now, talking about backing up your data is probably the best option for protecting your own personal files. There are 2 major options that most people use, whether it's an online or an option such as Google Drive. There's Carbonite. There's a few other different ones. I see most people using Google Drive, which is probably the best option. Otherwise, there's a local option such as just an external hard drive you own or a flash drive. I personally like both options. They both have their merits to me. I tend to use local options more, but there are such things that I have on my Google Drive that I use. Local options, I just personally feel that it's a little bit more secure because it's, you know who can access that flash drive. You know who comes to your house who might take the flash drive. Google could get hacked. Google Drive could get hacked. You never know. It's very unlikely, but it is possible. I may be just a bit paranoid with that, but I always just prefer local options. But I do use both. I'd say a mixture of both is probably the healthy compromise when backing up your own data. In summary, again, never save passwords in your web browser and just choose good passwords. That is the best way to protect yourself online out of anything I've talked about today. And also going to the principle of least privilege. If you're setting up a computer for a family, your family's computer, give the administrator rights to the person who actually needs them. Don't give them to everyone. That just causes problems. And also, do not open anything from untrustworthy sources. If you feel that it may not be someone you can trust, don't open it, just instantly delete it. The easiest way to protect yourself from phishing attacks, social engineering attacks, it's the best way. And if you do feel like you may have been a victim of an attack, don't be afraid to take your computer to a professional. Or, in case of identity theft, call the police. They are the ones who can protect you better if you do not feel that you have been compromised. So thank you, everyone. I just want to say thanks again. Please, again, just choose good passwords.